Today we will be starting off with data types and variables. I think we have already seen how to install Java on our laptops and how to install Eclipse. We also know that throughout our sessions we will be moving ahead with the Eclipse IDE. So let's quickly start with the topic data types and variables. So when I talk about the term data types, what comes in our mind? The very first thing comes in our mind is types of data, right? Exactly, that is what your data types are. In real world, we have seen, or we can classify data means what? Information. So we can classify information into different types, isn't it? Today if I will be saying 1 2 3 4 5 6, you all will be calling it automatically as numbers. If I will be saying a b c d e f g h, you all will be calling it as letters, or you can say alphabets of English language, isn't it? So we are already classifying the data into different types, isn't it? Somebody is speaking about numbers, so I will be saying that okay, he is talking about numbers. If somebody will be saying certain sentences, certain words, so I will be calling it as okay, that person is speaking in English, isn't it? So we have already classified that there are many types of data. But on the other hand, computers, when I talk about computers, they are not very smart. Now in our case, if I will tell you that okay, I want to work with, let's say, 1 2 3 4s or maybe certain digits, you will automatically understand that okay, he is going to work with numbers. But computers do not have this understanding by their own. We generally need to make them understand that okay, these are the types of data which are present in the real world, and this is what we are going to work with today. Okay, so for that, data types were created in the programming languages, and it plays a very important role as well, because according to the data types only, the computers will decide that where exactly they need to store the data. Specific blocks have been made for different types of data types. Variables, on the other hand, we will be seeing on a little bit later. Let us first of all continue with the data types itself. So when I say data types in Java, how many of them are there? Now basically data types in Java can be classified into two portions: primitive data types and then we have non-primitive data types. So what do we mean by primitive data types? The difference between the primitive and non-primitive we will be understanding not right now, but we will be understanding it a little bit later. So in this session, we will be dealing only with the primitive data types. We will not be dealing with the non-primitive data types. Now, as you can see that these are the 8 types of data types which are present in primitive data types. These are the classifications which have been made inside the primitive ones. So we are calling it as byte, then we have short, then we have int, then we have long, then we have float, double, boolean and char. All of these primitive data types, they play a very significant role in programming languages. That is the reason why people have tried to classify it. Now we all will be thinking that okay, in real world we know only about numbers, we know only about maybe the words and maybe sometimes decimals also. That also we consider inside the numbers itself, right? So why are we having 8 types here? I mean, we can have 1 or 2. Why are we going for 8 here? So as I have already told you that computers are not very smart as humans. So we need to classify it as specifically as I can. Classify it in the most detailed way. And that is the reason why 8 different types. Now, as you all can see here, that these are the types of data which we are having. And with respect to each data type, I have also given the size which each of these data types generally take in the programming languages. So if I am today writing down talking about byte, then it is going to take up 1 byte of space. Then when I'm talking about your short, it is going to take up 2 bytes of memory. Similarly, integer, or in short forms we call it as int. Int is going to go ahead with 4 bytes of memory. Long will be going on with 8 bytes. Float goes for 4 bytes. Double goes for 8 bytes. Boolean goes for 1 bit. And char goes for 2 bytes. Now the size has already been defined, and or you can say the size is already predefined. We cannot change it, but we have to still see that what exactly it will be storing, right? Let's talk about that. So the first data type is byte. It can store numbers, numericals ranging from -128 to 127. Similarly, if I talk about short, it is going to store the whole numbers from -32,768 to +32,760 and 7. So this is the range of your short. Similarly, integers we everybody knows what integers are. Store the numbers from minus, the value is in crores. So this much bigger number is going to be stored in integers. Okay, after this the range actually finishes. So if you try to store something which is beyond this range, it will not be taken. Then we have long. So long is basically, you can say it is called as the parent of integers. Okay, it also stores integers only, but the range is pretty high. You can see the range goes from -9 to +9. This much big is the range of your long. Similarly, we have float. Now, when I talk about float in computer languages, the decimals are stored differently, and that is why we have a float as well present here. You can see here float, it is going to store the decimal values. So decimal values are not included in your integers in your long, byte or short. Decimal values are only included inside your float. Okay, it is sufficient for storing around 6 to 7 decimal digits. Similarly, we have double. Double stores 8 bytes, or it takes 8 bytes of memory. It is called as the parent of float, just like long of int. So it is going to store the fractional numbers again, but it is going to store the values in a higher range. It will be going up to 15 decimal digits. Boolean. When I talk about Boolean, Boolean is of 1 bit and it stores either a true value or a false value. That's it. I mean, the value of Boolean can either be true or false. Okay, in words. That's it. Then we have char. Char stands for characters. So if you want to go for single characters, then you have to go for char. So it will only store a single character. That's it. I mean, it can store either an A or a B or a C or a D. So these are the types of data which we are going to deal with throughout our sessions, and data types are the basic subject which we already have to have an idea upon, otherwise we will not be able to work ahead. Now let us take up an example. I have to store few numbers and I am taking up 4 bytes of space in my memory. So let's call it as, okay, this is the 4 bytes of space and 4 bytes are given to int here, right? Int and float. So I will be saying that, okay, I don't want to go with float. I am not going to store any fractional number. I'll be storing up only your normal integers. Okay, so let's say that the value which I want to store is something like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the number which I am trying to store. So obviously I'll be telling my computers, or I'll be telling my programming language, which is Java, to store 1, 2, 3, 4 as integers in the memory. But then there has to be a way to call it out, right? I should be able to, call this memory block, or I should be able to, give the address to this memory block, or somehow I shall be able to use this number. So for that, we had to describe something called as variables. So what are variables? Now variables are, you can say, names which are given to the memory blocks which are storing the values. Okay, so that if you have to use the values inside the memory blocks at any point of time in the programming language, you can just call it out with the variable name. So what I can say in a simple words is that, okay, I will name this particular memory block as A. Okay, so that means now A will be representing this specific address. So if somewhere in my programming language, let's say I'm writing a piece of code, and if somewhere I'm calling out A, it will automatically start referencing to 1, 2, 3, 4, the value which is being stored inside this piece of memory. That is what you all need to understand, that whenever you are trying to call out A, you will be redirected to the value which is stored inside the respective address here. Because at the end of the day, the RAM is very big, and where exactly your value is getting stored, that has to be traced, isn't it? So you need to trace it using a variable. So these are the two things, data types and variables. Now how do we play with them? Let us try to see how exactly we work with the data types and variables. The first block, once you go into the coding part, is your main, and whatever codes you have to execute, it should be kept inside the main block. Otherwise, that is not going to work. There are many things about this specific block here, I mean the main block here, which we will be covering in the later chapters, but not right away. Okay, so for now you all can just understand it in this way, that okay, this is something very important, and if I have to execute anything, that should be within the main block. So now let us say that I have to store a value and I have to create a variable for that. So how exactly am I going to work with it? Let's try to take up an example. So let's say that I have to store, or I have to add two integers. I have to add two integers, which is 36 and 45. These are the two integers which I have to add, and I have to get the value. How exactly should I start? How exactly should I work with it? Syntax for defining up a variable over a given data type is something like this. First of all, you have to tell the computer about the data type. As I've already told you that computers are not very smart, so you will have to brief them about how or which data type you are talking about. They have given you the classifications, mention the data type according to the respective things. So in our case, let us say I have to store an integer value. I'll be writing down the data type first. Then I will be writing down the name of the variable. So I am calling it as variable1. Now if I will say that variable1 is equals to something like 20, and I will give a semicolon at the end of the statement. Whenever I am ending a statement, I'll be providing a semicolon so that the computer can understand that, okay, this is where the statement is right now ending. So I am saying that the data type with the variable 1 is equals to 20. So that means I can say that somewhere 20 is getting stored. Okay, and who is pointing out to this respective address? Your variable 1. So I will be removing this a from here and I will be calling it as var1. So var1 is pointing towards the integer data type and it is referencing to the address where the value 20 is stored. That is how you have to define the variable. Now if you all will see, I have just written it generically that this is just a data type. Let's try to write down the actual things. So whenever I have to write down the things which should be considered by Java or by our main block, then I will not have to use these double slash. The double slashes, whenever we use it, that means it shouldn't be read by the computer. It shouldn't be read by the compiler actually. Okay. So if the compiler has to execute any code, it has to be written without double slashes. So now I am storing up an integer. I can go for integer and I can go for var1 is equals to 20 and a semicolon. So you all can see that this is how I am defining a variable. Now this type of defining a variable is called as inline declaration. Why? Because in a single line I am declaring and defining both the things. I am declaring the variable, that there is a variable 1 supposed to be there, and the value which should be stored in this block which is being pointed by the variable 1 is 20. Okay, this way I have said that okay, var1 is a variable name which is pointing towards an address where the value 20 is being stored. Okay, in the similar way I can go ahead with n number of things. Let us say I want to define maybe a short value, so I can go for short a and I will be saying, let's say something like 12, right? The variable name a is pointing towards the address where the value 12 is stored. If I will go with, let us say now we have a number of data types, right? I have long, I have float, double. Let's try it out with long as well. I'll give the name as, let's say, L, which would be equivalent to 1 2 3 4, something like this. Now let us try to go for decimal values also. So if I try to go for, let's say, decimal value as float, right? I have already told you that decimals are stored in float. So I'll say float f is equals to 20.345, something like this. Okay, you will see that it is going to throw an error. It is saying that it is not allowed. But why exactly so? Whenever you're working with float, you have to define an extra f here. F will ensure that this is a decimal value and you're trying to store it in the data type float. This f is not similar to this f. I can change this f to r also. That is not going to matter. But at the end here it should be f. Similarly, if you will be going for double, let's say double, I will represent it with a d. So I can give any decimal values, that is up to me, but this does not requires any alphabet at the end like here. The reason is pretty simple, because by default the compilers of Java want to store any decimal value into double. So if you are specifying, or if you are specifically want to store any data into float, you will have to mention an f. Otherwise automatically that data will go into double. Got it? So instead of float, if I would have written here double, then I do not require any sort of f value here. That would be perfectly fine. But now if you are working with float, then you definitely have to give the f. So that is what your float is. That is how your double works, right? So this is how you define the decimals. Now what else do we have? We have a boolean, we have a character as well. Let us try to define a character. So I can say char c is equals to, now whenever you have to define any value in a character, you have to go with something called as single quotations. So I can go for ABC, nopes. I will have to go with only a single character in this. Only one character is allowed. Not two, not three, not anymore. Either it can be an A or a B or a F or a G, that too inside single quotes. I can go for boolean as well. Let's say boolean B is equals to, it can be either true as I said, or it can be a false. You will understand where exactly booleans are used. Don't worry. Don't try to figure out everything right now. Just try to get a gist of it. Right, so our task was here today to calculate the values, or I mean calculate the addition of 36 and 45, right? So now let us try to add these two numbers today and let's try to print the sum in the console. Now how exactly will I be adding up the numbers? So first of all we will have to declare and define the numbers, isn't it? So what will I do? I will go for defining these two numbers. How do we define it? With the help of data types and the variables only, isn't it? So I will say that integer maybe a should be equivalent to 36. Now it will show an error. Why exactly it is showing an error? If you see here, this is a red mark. If you will just hover over it, it will tell you that what exactly the error is. So it's saying duplicate local variable a. So you cannot have two variables with the same name. Short is also a here, integer is also a here. I cannot have two variables with the same names. So variable names cannot remain same within the same block of code. In our case, in main, we cannot have two variables with the same name. It does not matter that which data type it is representing, but it cannot remain same. Let's say I'll go with a1. So integer a1 is equals to 36. I have said that a1 should be representing the address which is storing the value 36. Similarly, integer, I will go for b1, that is going to store, let's say, 45. You will have to end it, otherwise the compiler will not know where the ending is. So I'll go for this. Let's say I have to add both these numbers. So what shall I do? I can directly use a plus operator here. Operators we will be seeing later on, but right now just try to get an idea that okay, whenever I am adding two numbers, I will require plus. The minus will subtract two numbers. Divide signal will go for division of the two numbers, and multiply will go for multiplying two different number sets. Now whatever values I will be adding, I will be getting another value, isn't it? If I'll be doing 36 plus 45, so I'll be going on for 81. That will be the result, but that also has to get stored somewhere, isn't it? So for that also we require a variable and data type. That is what I will be doing. I will be saying integer c1 should be equal to a1 plus b1. So what is a1? a1 is this number, b1 is this. So a1 will be representing 36, b1 will be representing 45. Both will be added up, and wherever it will be stored, it will be represented by c1. That is what I am trying to say here. And after that, I will try to print the value. Printing the value means showing the things over the console. You can see that below is the console window. Now whatever outputs you receive from the coding or from the programming language, you generally are able to see it over the console only. So I will go for system.out.println. This is the statement for printing a value, and inside this you have to provide the variable name. Okay, I am providing my variable name, which is c1, which I'll have to print, right? So if I will be running this program right now, how to run it? You can see a green button here, right? So you will run this green button will automatically run your program, and it will start displaying the result over the console. Now if I'll try to pull this up, you will have this 81 here, as you can see, isn't it? So 81 is the output which we got. Why did we get 81? Because I have printed the variable c1 and it is showing this value. So this is how you have to work with the data types. So you can see that similarly I can do anything here. Let's say I want to remove all of this. Let us now say that I have to multiply two numbers, right? And two numbers should be integers. So I can go for integer a is equals to maybe 12. Then I can go for integer b is equals to maybe 30, right? If I have just to multiply, I'll go for integer c is equals to a into b. That's it. And I'll go for printing up c. You will get 360. Getting it? This is how we have to start working off with your data types and variables. You all can see that this is how we are working over the data types. So what are we doing? We are basically going for declaring the variables and defining them. After that we are playing with the numbers, and then we are printing out the respective stuffs. So I hope this topic is very much clear to all. This is how we have to define the variables. This is how we have to define the data types as well. And this is how we have to do some basic operations. So tomorrow we will be starting off with the operators portion. Right now I am going to end up this session. So thank you all for joining up. Bye bye all. Have a nice day.